Football Manager is a game like no other. I've been playing since 2022, and while I'm not a huge football fan and only started playing to fit in with my in-laws, I've clocked in over 2,000 hours, combined, over the different versions of course. It's safe to say I'm hooked, but whether you're a seasoned fan or curious about what makes this game so addictive, I'll give you a quick overview, dive into the basic mechanics, and talk about the highs and lows of this legendary series. And of course, ask and answer the simple question, should you make time for Football Manager? For those unfamiliar, Football Manager is a series where you step into the shoes of, well, a football manager. It's not about scoring goals yourself. This is about strategy. You're handling everything from transfers and tactics to managing a squad full of egos. It's the Crusader Kings 3 of sports game. You make all the decisions and decide what you want to do. Do you want to take over an already prospering team and stomp over everybody, dominating year after year? Or do you want to revitalize that long-lost football dynasty that has been mismanaged and relegated to the third tier, bringing them back into the premiers, maybe winning the adoration of fans and the championships? The choice is yours. So, how does the game actually work? A lot of it is about tweaking and tinkering with three major areas: tactics, trading, and training. Tactics. You get to tweak things like formations, individual player instructions, and set-piece strategies. The level of control is insane, and you can go as deep as you want. The outcome being having a season where a series of small tweaks in a formation, like inverting your winbacks or forcing your players to play those set pieces you trained for, can turn a struggling mid-table team into title contenders. The sense of control and micromanagement is what makes this game so rewarding. There's also trading, scouting, and transfers. You may spend hours searching for the next wonder kid, negotiating contracts for your top stars, and figuring out who to sell and when. But when you land a contract for that 18-year-old regen who becomes your club's all-time scorer over multiple seasons, it's those times that make the game worth it. And of course, training and player development. So training and mentoring and match experience all play a part in building the future stars of your team. Improving your team's youth facilities and coaches, and instead of signing up that wonder kid you see, you nurture a homegrown player from your academy that breaks into the first team and shines. There's no better feeling. You can really get attached to your players over time, or perhaps even sell them for profit and bonuses. And of course, when match day comes along, you're not controlling the players directly, but your tactical setup and instructions, including your decisions, determine everything they do. Watching your strategies play out in real time can just be as thrilling as playing the real game, and just as frustrating when things don't go your way. Now, let's talk about why this game has sucked up over 2,000 hours of my life. The depth and realism. If you love football, there's nothing else like it. The detail in tactics, scouting, and player management is staggering. The gameplay is addictive, the progression, while slow, is incredibly satisfying. I've had nights where I tell myself, just one more match, and the next thing I know, it's 4 AM with 2 days left till game day. This game has a way of pulling you in and not letting go. There's also longevity and the replayability of the game. With endless leagues and teams to choose from, every save feels fresh. Each save is its own story. One year, you take a lower league club from obscurity to Champions League glory. The next league, you start unemployed. You find your job and climb the ranks. The unpredictability keeps you coming back for more. Not to mention the vast third-party support by the fanbase, from updated rosters, leagues, and player stats, to UI skins and full graphical updates. Well, graphical in terms of team logos and player faces, of course. Now before we get into the not-so-good aspects of the game, let's talk about something that's often overlooked. Multiplayer. While it's not the biggest draw for Football Manager fans, and its logistics can get murky, it can be a great way to mix things up with your friends. Whether it's a single session player draft, where everyone picks their dream squads, goes head to head in a World Cup style playoff, or a more long-term save, multi-session play where you and your group of friends manage different teams in different countries, hoping to meet up in a Champions League someday. There's something unique about that shared experience. But as much as I love the game, it's not without its fault. Its learning curve is dramatically steep. The amount of detail can feel overwhelming at first. There's no real tutorial, just a walkthrough of things. It took me a few seasons and half a dozen restarts to get a general understanding of all the basic systems. And even now, with the amount of time I've invested into it, I'm still learning new things with every save. There's multiple community guides, Reddit posts, and YouTube videos that are required to get a good understanding of the game. The game is also ridiculously repetitive. You're simulating a full-time job after all, and albeit a prestigious ones, some aspects like press conferences and training schedules can get repetitive over time. Honestly, I tend to skip through a lot of the press conference stuff after a few seasons. While it's immersive at first, it starts to drag. And I also delegate a lot of my duties to my assistants, asking them to only bring me important information or let me make the really important decisions. And finally, it is time consuming. And this is not a game for quick play sessions. While things do take time, the game itself can be played at your own pace on your own time. There is no race against the clock, it is turn-based. And while it might sound like a good thing, you can easily get sucked into a match or transfer negotiation that takes way longer than you expected, making that gameplay session take longer and longer. And finally, the elephant in the room, the fact that you'll be spending 90% of your time playing this game by staring at menus, reading emails, looking at numbers and charts. It's a job. There are no sounds, background music, dialogue, or fancy graphics, so this might be a huge turnoff for some people. I found it quite odd at the beginning. It was just staring at spreadsheets. Sports Interactive each year gets the game iterated on, with more depth and realism, keeping us hooked for another long season. I've personally experienced the evolution of the game over the past couple of years, and I can say while the latest installment, FM24, kept pushing forward with things like improved AI, more in-depth player development, planning, and an updated scouting system, you would still get a very similar experience with any version. FM25 was supposed to release in November this year, but it has been pushed back, hopefully for a bigger leap in updates and graphics. At the end of the day, Football Manager is not for everyone. If you're a football fan who loves the game, or a guy waiting to impress his in-laws with obscure knowledge and information, this game is a dream come true. The depth, realism, and addictiveness are second to none. But if you're looking for fast-paced action, or you don't have hours and hours to sink into a single save or session, it might not be the best fit for you. The game does get given away only on Epic Games and Amazon Prime every year around this time, and it is available via PC Game Pass, so that might be a good way to check it out. For me though, with over 2,000 hours played and more ongoing, it's been an absolute blast. And while my knowledge of the game hasn't really improved much, I'm already looking forward to what the future releases bring. Thank you so much for watching. What's your experience with Football Manager if you've played it? Drop a comment below, and don't forget to like, subscribe for more gaming content, and remember, always make time for games.